The trespass the void of space was silent, too silent. The alien warship Graskell drifted toward an invisible line on the star map. The crew knew it well. The border of human space. Every species in the galaxy knew the warning. No alien shall enter without permission. But Captain Varn didn't believe in warnings. He believed in power. And today, he thought, the power was his. The bridge lights glowed dim red as the warship passed the last neutral beacon. "Crossing now," said the navigator with a smirk. Varn laughed. A deep rumble from his scaled throat. "Humans are small, weak, and too few," he said. "They cannot guard every star." The crew joined his laughter. They had all heard stories of humans, strange warriors from a small blue world. But those were old tailies, and old tailies could not stop a ship armed with plasma cannons. Then, without warning, the comms flickered, static hissed through the speakers. A voice spoke, deep and cold. "You have crossed into human space. Turn back." Now, the crew froze. The voice was calm, but it carried something. Something dangerous. Varn grinned. "Empty threats," he said, waving his claw. "Boost engines. We move forward." The engines roared, or at least they tried to. Suddenly, the hum of power dropped. Every screen blinked once. The stars outside vanished. No planets, no moons, no beacons. Only endless black. What happened to the stars? Asked the pilot, his voice tight. "Check navigation," Varn barked. The navigator's hands shook as he scanned the readings. "We're not where we were, Captain. The coordinates make no sense." The crew felt it now. Something unseen had taken hold of them. Varn's tail lashed. "This is human trickery," he snarled. "Find the source." But there was nothing on the sensors. Only black, and in that black, faint sounds began to echo. Clang, clang, clang. It was the sound of metal boots on metal floors. Inside their own ship, the security chief ran to the corridor. He found nothing. No intruder, no movement. But the sound kept coming. Clang, clang. Clang closer every time. Then it stopped. When he turned back toward the bridge, one of the crew was gone. Only a dropped weapon lay on the floor, still warm from the alien's touch. "Where is Ensign Gore?" Varn roared. No answer came. The comms hissed again. "You were warned," said the same deep voice. "This is your second and final warning." The crew began to panic. The pilot tried to reverse engines. Nothing. The ship didn't even shake. It was as if it was caught in the grip of an invisible hand. "Captain?" whispered the navigator. Varn turned sharply. The navigator pointed at the forward screen. Out of the darkness, a shape appeared. At first, it was just a shadow. Then it grew, filling the view. A massive ship, black as the void, sliding toward them without a sound. Its hull was scarred with the marks of many battles. But none of the scars seemed fresh. It looked ancient, and yet it moved like a predator. The alien crew fell silent. Even Varn could feel it now, the weight of something far greater than their own power. The ship stopped just short of ramming distance. No lights, no engine flares. It was as if it was part of the darkness itself. Then, in a burst of static, a single message came. 4 words, slow, cold, final. "Prepare to be boarded. The bridge." Crew stared in horror. Varn's claws dug into the arm of his chair. He wanted to order the guns to fire, but his gut told him it would make no difference. This was not a fight they could win. This was something else. Something that had been waiting for them the moment they crossed the line. And in that silence, they all understood. The old warnings were not just stories. They were the truth. Step into human space. And it's the last step you'll ever take. Ghosts of the border. The alien ship hung in the black void. It was not empty space. It was something else. The crew could feel it pressing on their skin. Like the air before a storm. Heavy, waiting. Varn's eyes darted to every screen. Nothing showed the human ship's power source. No heat, no radiation, no signal. It was like the ship didn't exist, yet it was right in front of them. The comms crackled again, but this time it wasn't just static. It was a faint background sound. Footsteps, metal dragging on metal, and something breathing. "You are in violation of the border," the voice said. "Return is no longer possible." The words felt like ice sliding down their spines. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Even the bravest among them didn't speak. Then the lights inside the Graskell dimmed. One by one, every hallway camera went dark. The engineer shouted from below deck, "Power drain," but not from any system I can find. In the distance, something scraped the outside of the hull. Long, slow, like claws on bone. The sound moved from one side of the ship to the other. Varn gripped his chair, forcing his voice to stay steady. Shields up, weapons ready. But when the weapons officer tried to arm the cannons, the console went dead somewhere in the aft corridor. A scream tore through the silence. Then another. The security chief ran with 2 guards. They turned the corner and froze. One of the crew was floating in mid-air, held by nothing they could see, his body twisted in ways bones should never bend. Then, with a sickening sound, he vanished into thin air. Only his boots dropped to the floor. The guards ran back, faces pale. "This isn't a fight," one whispered. "It's a hunt." Back on the bridge, the forward screen flickered. A new image appeared. It was not a human. It was a dark metal mask with no eyes, no mouth, only a single vertical line of red light in the center. It pulsed slowly. Then the voice came again. Deeper now. "You entered knowing the risk. You will not return." The human ship began to move. Not toward them, but around them. It circled, like a predator sizing up prey. Every time it passed in front of the screen, the crew could see new markings on its hull. Symbols in different alien languages. Some were pleas for mercy. Some were curses. Some were warnings. Every one of them told the same truth. This was the end of any ship that crossed the line. Varn's hand hovered over the command to self-destruct. Better to die quickly than to vanish screaming. But before he could press it, the lights turned blood red. A low hum filled the air, and the voice returned. "Boarding begins now." The crew braced themselves. They had heard of human boarding tactics. No prisoners unless they wanted them. No survivors unless there was a message to send. Somewhere deep in Varn's mind, he knew they had made the worst mistake of their lives, and there would be no chance to undo it. The first thud echoed through the hull, then another and another, each one closer, until the airlock warning light began to flash, and everyone on the bridge realized they were no longer the hunters. They were the prey. Asterisk. The silent hunter, the Graskell, was dead in space. No engines, no weapons, no light from the stars. Only the black human warship circling like a shadow with teeth. The alien crew stood frozen, listening to the slow scrape of metal outside. It was not random. It was searching, choosing. Varn could feel it in his bones. This was no ordinary enemy. This was a predator that had hunted long before his people ever sailed the stars. The forward screen lit for a moment. The human ship's outline glowed in pale white from some unseen light source. Its hull was vast, layered with armor plates that looked centuries old. Across the side were painted marks, not just kills, but symbols from dozens of alien civilizations. Varn recognized some old rivals, old enemies, all gone now, extinct or broken, and here were their warnings, nailed like trophies to a hunter's wall. The comms hissed. A voice came, not human, yet not machine. "Open your airlocks." No one moved. The weapons officer shook his head slowly. "We can't," he whispered. "The controls aren't responding." The voice replied, "They will." And then the panel lights on the bridge flickered once, and the airlock override engaged on its own. In the cargo bay, a loud metallic bang shook. The floor, then a long, slow screech. The outer hatch was being forced open from the outside. Security gathered, weapons ready. But the moment the hatch opened, the air stayed in place. A shimmering field held it, and through that field stepped the first human. They were not like the legends. They wore no bright colors, only dark armor that drank the light. Their helmets had no visors, only smooth plates of black metal. Each carried a weapon unlike anything the crew had seen, long, thin, and glowing faintly blue. The humans moved without sound. Not even the sound of breath came from them. It was like they were made of the same darkness that had swallowed the ship. The first human pointed. 2 others moved instantly. Grabbing the nearest alien guard, the alien struggled. But the moment the human weapon touched him, he froze in place, not dead, not unconscious, just frozen, eyes wide, mouth open, unable to move or even blink. The humans left him like a statue and moved to the next. On the bridge, Varn watched through the cameras. His crew was falling without a single shot being fired. Every human strike was precise. Every movement practiced. They were not soldiers. They were hunters collecting prey. The comms clicked again. A whisper came through. "Your captain will come to us now." Varn's claws tightened on the armrest. He wanted to refuse, but deep inside, he knew refusal would only make it worse. The humans didn't ask twice, and in the dark of human space, no one heard you scream. Asterisk boarding protocol. Humans moved through the Graskell like shadows that could kill. They spoke little, only short bursts of words in a language the crew didn't understand. And yet, the aliens obeyed, not because they wanted to, but because something in the humans' presence made resistance feel useless. The frozen crew were marked with small glowing bands on their arms. Once placed, the band tightened like a living thing. It pulsed faintly. Varn noticed the color shift with each pulse: green, then yellow, then red. He did not know what it meant, but the ones with red bands were taken away first. None returned. The boarding party reached the bridge. The largest human stepped forward. His armor bore deep scratches, not from plasma fire, from claws, teeth, and blades. Varn realized this human had faced beasts far larger than himself, and lived. The human tilted his head slightly, then gestured to the comms station. Without touching the controls, the comms lit up. A voice, the same cold voice from before, spoke through every speaker. "Captain Varn of the Graskell, you will accompany us. The rest of your crew will be processed." Processed? Varn spat. What does that mean? The human didn't answer. Instead, he reached down. His gauntlet brushed against Varn's neck, and the captain's vision blurred. The next thing he knew, he was standing in a corridor unlike any he had seen. Tall walls of black metal, pipes that hissed softly, dim white lights that seemed to move and shift as if watching him. Other prisoners were being led through the corridors. Some he recognized, aliens from empires that swore they would never bow to humans. Now they shuffled forward silently, eyes empty. Some bore scars that looked like they had been marked. Claimed, owned, Varn was taken into a large chamber. The floor was smooth, black glass, and above him floated a massive sphere of metal covered in strange runes. The sphere rotated slowly. Every time it turned, Varn felt something in his mind being touched. The voice came again. "You crossed without leave. You will answer for it." Images flashed into Varn's head. Alien fleets breaking apart under. Human weapons, worlds burned to ash. Empires collapsing in days. Each image burned into his mind until it hurt to breathe. Then the voice asked, "Do you know why no one enters human space twice?" Varn didn't answer. Not because he didn't want to, but because his throat refused to move. The voice said, "Because we do not send them back." 2 humans stepped forward. They clasped heavy metal cuffs around Varn's wrists. The moment they locked, he felt his strength vanish. The humans turned without another word, leading him deeper into the ship and in the silence. Varn realized something worse than death was waiting for him. Trial in the dark. Varn was pushed into a massive chamber. The air was cold, too cold. His breath came out in slow white clouds. The room was silent except for the faint hum of hidden machines. Rows of alien prisoners stood in lines on each side, some chained, some standing free but unmoving. Their eyes followed him, tired eyes, hopeless eyes, eyes that told him there was no escape. In the center of the room was a raised platform. Above it hung a great black disk. It spun slowly, glowing faintly with lines of red light that formed strange patterns. When it turned, the patterns shifted. The light seemed to stare into his mind. A low voice echoed, "Captain Varn of the Graskell, stand for judgment." The black disk lowered until it floated just above his head. It spoke again. "You entered human space uninvited. You ignored 2 warnings. You endangered our border." Its voice was not angry. It was calm, too calm. And that made it worse. Varn tried to speak. His voice cracked. "I meant no harm. I only passed through." The disk rotated slowly. "No one passes through." The words echoed in his bones. "Your intent is irrelevant. Your presence is the crime." Images flooded the chamber walls. They were not just pictures. They moved. Varn saw alien ships burning. He saw worlds falling silent. He saw faces, captains, soldiers, leaders, frozen in fear, and every one of them was a trespasser like him. The disk's voice grew heavier. "Some we destroy. Some we keep. Some we send to places where light will never reach them." Varn's throat tightened. "Which am I?" he asked. The voice replied, "You will know soon." A human officer stepped forward. He held a small silver rod. The tip glowed with a soft blue light. He pressed it to Varn's chest. A sharp pain shot through his body, and in an instant, he felt like every secret he ever had was being pulled from him. Memories, fears, weaknesses, all taken. The officer nodded once. Clear for exile. The black disk lifted away. The voice spoke one last time. "You will not die here, but you will wish you had." The guards grabbed his arms and began walking him toward a corridor so dark it looked like the mouth of something alive. Every step echoed. Every echo felt like a countdown. And Varn knew the trial was over. Now came the sentence, asterisk. The one-way trip the corridor felt endless. Varn's feet scraped against the cold metal floor. The 2 human guards didn't speak. They moved like machines, their black armor swallowing the light from the faint wall strips. Every few steps, a heavy steel door slid open ahead of them. Always silent, always waiting, they reached a vast hangar. It was unlike anything Varn had seen. Rows upon rows of small metal pods lined the walls, each shaped like a coffin with no windows. Strange markings glowed faintly on their surfaces. Some pods shook softly. From inside, muffled pounding could be heard. Others were completely still. Those made Varn's scales crawl the most. The human officer from the trial stepped forward. He held a black tablet in one hand. On it, a list of names glowed in red. Varn saw his own at the top. "Pod 73, the officer said without looking up. The guards dragged him toward a pod near the far wall. Its hatch slid open with a slow hiss. Inside was nothing but a flat black surface. No seat, no restraints. It looked more like a grave than a vessel. Varn tried to pull back. "I can pay you," he shouted. "I can give you weapons, maps, anything." The officer's helmet tilted slightly. "You have nothing we want." Varn's tail lashed in panic. "You can't just leave me." The officer cut him off. "That is exactly what we do." The guard shoved him into the pod. The walls were ice cold. The moment he touched them, a thin web of red light spread across the inside. It pulsed once, then tightened around him like invisible chains. The officer tapped the tablet, and the hatch sealed shut through a small slit. In the door, Varn saw the hangar floor drop away beneath him. The pod was sliding down a narrow tube, faster and faster, until it shot into open space, except it wasn't space. There were no stars, no light, no sound, only blackness so deep it felt heavy. Varn's breath quickened. His claw scraped the walls. Then he saw them, dozens, maybe hundreds of other pods drifting slowly in the void. Some close, some far away, none moving on their own. Some with faint red lights still pulsing, others completely dark. A faint voice came through the pod's comb. It was the same voice from the border. You are now in the expanse. No ship escapes it. No one returns from it. The comb went silent, and Varn was left floating, surrounded by the ghosts of every fool who had stepped into human space. Asterisk. The warning renewed. The human warship glided back toward the border. Its black hull was silent. No celebration, no noise, only the cold efficiency of a hunter returning to its post. Inside the command deck, the crew moved with the same quiet discipline. Their work was not about victory. It was about order. On one wall, a massive display showed the expanse, that endless black prison where Varn and his kind now drifted. The glowing red dots marking each pod were countless. A slow, constant reminder of why no one crossed the line twice. The ship stopped at a precise point in the void. A beacon unfolded from its hull like the opening of a mechanical flower. Its long antennae reached out, searching. When it powered on, its voice cut through the emptiness. Not just in one system, but across every listening station in the galaxy. This is the sovereign border of human space. A broadcast began. All trespassers will be warned once. All who ignore the warning will vanish. No ransom, no rescue, no return. The voice was not angry. It was not loud, but it carried the weight of something absolute, something final. On distant worlds, alien rulers paused to listen. Some clenched their claws in fear. Others ordered maps of human space updated with new warning markers. Trade routes shifted, patrols doubled along their own borders, because every leader knew if the humans guarded their space with this much force, they would do worse if pushed beyond it. In the quiet after the transmission, the warship powered down its beacon. It turned slowly and disappeared back into the black, its presence erased from every scanner. Only the echo of its message remained. Step into human space, and it's the last step you'll ever take, asterisk.